Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first episode of Wild Legacy TV. We'll be with you every Tuesday night at 7 p.m., brought to you by Wild Horse Protection Australia. So, my name is Sian Whitewolf Molyneux, and I am the president of Wild Horse Protection Australia. And today I am bringing on my co host, which is Laura Mathews, and she is our Vice President of Wild Horse Protection Australia. So, welcome, Laura.
Thank you, Sian.
I thought it would be a great way for us to introduce ourselves a bit more to the community, and you get to have your say as well. And we can talk about our upcoming episodes, what the show is going to be like, and also our amazing gala that we're putting on.
Yeah, awesome. Sounds good. As if we haven't been speaking all day. Anyway.
Yeah. Hello again.
I know, it's like just in a different format now. Sounds good.
I know, we're always chasing each other around the message threads, aren't we? We messenger 1 minute and then signal the next
Yeah, I know.
minute, and then so much going on. So, yes, Wild Legacy TV is going to be about wild horses, wild places, and people, but not only just in Australia, it's going to be about connecting with people globally. Myself and Laura as well, we have lots of connections around the world, and we think it's important that we all come together across the globe because the pressures on the parks is not just happening in Australia, it's happening all over the place. So I think we can learn from each other by delving into interviewing people from around the world, but also we will be talking to our local people as well. So how about we start, Laura, with a bit more about you and why you joined Wild Horse Protection Australia and your journey with horses.
Yeah, so thanks, Sian. So yeah, I have ridden my whole life. I started riding when I was probably around 3 years old. Just absolutely adored horses, came out of nowhere. I think that's the same for a lot of horse people. You just feel drawn to horses as animals, and begged and begged and begged my mum and dad for a horse for years and years, and they finally did end up by getting a horse. We all rode, my mum, dad and me. And yeah, we actually ended up getting a quarter horse, so which was quite rare because I'm obviously not Australian. I am from the UK. And over there at the times, this was like, God, I'm going to show my age now, but this was probably, oh my God, when was it? I can't even do the maths. Jesus, 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. It was not common practice in the UK for Western riding, natural horsemanship. It was very much the kind of, I don't want to generalize, but it was that kind of the show jumping and the eventing and all of that, the pony club, all of that sort of riding. So actually the experience that I had with horses, when I look back on that now, I actually feel in some ways quite guilty sometimes about partaking, I suppose, and learning to ride in a riding school. And it was really my dad that introduced me to the more like natural horsemanship style of things. So he was a big fan of Monty Roberts, and although the horse that we bought was older, she was an 11-year-old, he still did those practices with her. And so that kind of taught me a different way of looking at things. And my love of horses just really grew. We only lost her, last year when I was back in the UK, and she actually reached 37. So it was an amazing age for a horse.
Wow.
Yeah, really, really. She was an amazing horse and with amazing breeding. And yeah, I suppose that, horses have always had a really special place in my heart. And although I haven't been riding, I suppose, recently, I've probably since my early 20s, I haven't ridden regularly. Horses are something that just, I'm never going to stop loving them. Not only that, I am a huge advocate for all animals. I have my partner says a bleeding heart, and yeah, I can't help but, if I see something on the side of the road, I'll go and pick it up, and, I'll be one of those people that has a cardboard box in my car and will, try my best to help them through anything. But yeah, so that's really the background around horses and animals. I obviously, as I said, I'm not from Australia. I moved over to Australia in 2019 and been back in the UK a bit during that time. And when I heard about the Brumby Cole, I honestly don't know how it came into my remit. It was, I think, a random post on Facebook, and I actually don't really use Facebook that much. You normally just for marketplace, or just every now and again, like mums groups or whatever. And a post came up, and I just thought, I was horrified, honestly horrified. I couldn't get my head around it. And obviously, I went onto the page. It was probably one of the big Brumby Facebook pages that are around. And yeah, the more I delved into it, I remember it exactly. It was like the weekend before the 9th of June. So the cull was happening on the 9th of June. And yeah, I came across this post, and I couldn't let it go. I honestly think I went through a bit of a mini breakdown that weekend, which wasn't really helpful for anyone. And I've got young kids, so it's I couldn't. You have to just carry on and keep going. But I just couldn't believe what I was reading and what I was seeing. And then so I guess from there I started to reach out to different people. I could see people that were posting a bit more, and you sort of get to know people in the groups on Facebook. And I just thought, what is actually being done here? And then you start to realize that this isn't the first cull that's happened. This is one of many. And I think that's even more shocking. The images that I saw, I'd never seen anything like it, in all honesty. And yeah, it really, really shook.
It's quite shocking, isn't it, really?
Yeah,
It's shocking when you first see the images. And I wanted to circle back to how you're saying, you have a bleeding heart, but without us with the bleeding hearts, this wouldn't be happening. The movements wouldn't be
yeah,
happening, and people wouldn't be standing up. So we have to have us people that put everything else aside, really, and we feel the calling to the wild horse and to our history and to all of these things that matter and the truth. And we answer the call and we go for it. And I think it's pretty beautiful how we've all come together. And we're just not going to give up until we see some changes happening. So, I mean, the topic about this whole episode is why the wild horse story matters. What do wild horses mean to you?
I mean, for me personally, again, it's like they are the epitome of freedom. I think anyone that's lucky enough to go and experience horses in the wild, even experience horses on a day-to-day level. I feel very fortunate that I've had that experience. I've had that upbringing, and I've been able to get to know an animal that many people are actually quite fearful of, which I don't know whether that's the same here, but when you speak to people, a lot of people, they admire horses, but they're actually quite scared of them. In terms of the wild horses, I suppose until really learning about the Brumbies more, I hadn't almost put two and two together. I just assumed that the horses were out there, they were fine, they were living their lives. That's pretty much my understanding. And then obviously coming into this and finding out what was happening, I just thought, how can a wild animal be the target, this beautiful wild animal? And I know it's happening not just to horses, it's happening to other feral animals. And yeah, I was just in shock. I couldn't believe that it's such a symbol of freedom, like spirituality. Horses, it's used in advertising, like wild horses. I'm going to use a really silly one now, but like in the UK, Lloyd's Bank actually uses a horse like racing for its, not racing, sorry, running free for its advertising. And it's just got that power and that powerful message. And yeah, as I say, I couldn't quite fathom that this was happening. And then obviously, not only is it happening here, but it's also happening around the world. So in the UK, well, it's not happening in the UK, but it was about to happen in the UK, and it's happening all over the US. So yeah, I was really shocked.
That's terrible. And it's very interesting when you say the symbology of the wild horse, because you see it on the Mustang car, you see it on, I even picked up a pair of tongs the other day and there was a wild horse running. And us as people are very tied, I think, to the wild horse because it does represent that freedom and it does represent sovereignty and it does represent that wildness that I think we have inside of ourselves. And I feel that things have been taken away, not only just with the horses globally, but you see it with wolves, you see it with dingoes, you see it with all sorts of wildlife. And it's almost like, you know, when you start looking deeper into things and you go into the rabbit holes, then you start discovering the true story, don't you? Which is really, at the end of the day, land grabs and control and things like this. And it feels like we're a bit tied to the wild horse with our freedoms being taken away and our sovereignty being taken away. And I think we can really feel and empathise with those herds, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And I would say that even until now, I probably haven't had the understanding of the way a wild herd works, like the way that the family works. And, you know, I understood herd concepts to an extent, but again, that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, I feel almost guilty in a way about the education that I had around horses was just not, it wasn't a full education. And I'm actually finding out more. I've probably found out more about horses this year, you know, than I maybe did in that period of time where I was learning to ride and all of that sort of thing. So yeah, yeah, I definitely feel that, you know, the more that you find out, and I suppose this is for all animals though, you know, it's not just horses. And I think that the more research I do on this and the more that I look into this, the more I find out about it, the more I delve deeper, I actually feel like animals are so greatly misunderstood, and they truly need a voice. And I know there's some people doing some amazing work around this, not only in Australia, in the UK as well, within politics, but not only within politics, obviously in other spaces. And I think we're on like the cusp of something where wildlife, wild horses, just animals in general are being better understood. You know, they're not a product. They're not ours to do what we want with. They're an entity, right? They're a soul. They're a being, just like we are, and they have rights just like we do. And I think that that's becoming more in the like the public realm, you know. So yeah, but I agree with you, John. Sorry, I go off on tangents. Um, but I do agree. You know, it's like, yeah, you know, you have your family dynamics. You feel safe, and then if that safety gets interrupted, yeah, I agree.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. And, you know, when you're talking about that people are starting to understand that they're not just animals, they're sentient beings. And I think roles or our way of being in society has been reversed, where we used to, in tribal times, revere animals and we used to be taught by them and we used to respect them and idolize them, take on their traits in a shamanic way. All ancient cultures did this, and then it seemed to have been reverted,
Hmm.
and they're just a product. They're just for human use. And so I feel like that's maybe in the spiritual side of things getting flipped around again. But another thing that we've sort of come together on and that we're excited about, and what our larger concept is about for Wild Horse Protection Australia, is the rewilding model. And you being from over in the UK, your eyes have been sort of pricked on some exciting things that are happening over there. And we're sort of a bit behind here in Australia, but there are some exciting things happening not only in the UK but Mongolia, and there's some models out there that I think we both feel that we could really start modelling over here.
Yeah, definitely. I think that, and look, I think it's a tricky one with Australia because being from the UK, we don't have, and look, the UK has got its own issues going on. It's actually wildlife deficient. So the reason the UK, I think, are trying to rewild spaces now is that a lot of that nature was, I mean, if you think about it, the UK was like predominantly forest, and look at it now, it's just farmland. And I think yeah, there were wolves in the UK as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, there were
Mm.
populations. I actually saw today there were pelicans, and they're obviously extinct there now. So it's only because there's so many around here where I am. So I was like, oh my God, I've never seen one before being here.
Don't
Um,
get pooped, don't get pooped on by one.
oh
Actually,
God.
no, that's good luck.
better luck. It's more. Yeah, I wouldn't fancy that. But yeah, so I think there, all the hedgerows were taken away. There was just so much was decimated there. And even if you look at like this year, for example, there's been fires all over the UK, and it's just a sign, I think, that like the landscape is struggling. But what I was going to say was that obviously the biodiversity sort of not biodiversity, sorry, the biosecurity in the UK is nothing like it is here. And I think that there's not that kind of sense of, and look, I don't know how political we can go on this, but there's not that sense of utilizing that to kind of brainwash a population, or rather than brainwash, push people in a certain direction. I would say that there's certain things over there that people have been told, like even like the fox hunting a thing, for example. I mean, that took years and years and years to get rid of, and it's still not gone now. They're still trying to fight against that. I think it's what I'm saying is that there's people are coming at it quite level, whereas here, obviously with the horses, for example, there's very strong opinions either side, so for and against. Whereas like in the UK, for example, I don't think anyone was looking at the Dartmoor horses and thinking, yeah, they really need to go, like it just wouldn't
Yeah, I think we've
happen.
got it a little bit tougher in Australia here, as they're not a native animal. And even the poor dingo is a native animal, but has been classified in that feral pests thing, which I think is easy to do in Australia, and they've really used that to their advantage. These larger companies and the ISC and things like that, they've really jumped on that. But at the end of the day, we need to be humane about these things. And what I like about our model is that, we're coming up with solutions, and we're going to build on the side. Yes, we need to fight what's going on because it's not okay. And Sandra just wrote in the chat, I cannot believe how they cannot feel shame for what they're doing. And yeah, I don't understand how these people sleep at night. They must be that brainwashed, or tell themselves or gaslight themselves that it's for the better. But deep inside of yourself, like, this is not okay. We can't treat animals like this. And so I think we need to really be building on the side examples where people can follow, and they can watch, and they can see that there's a different way. Because at the moment, there's only one way. We
Yeah,
haven't been given a different example, have we? So sometimes
no.
you've got to take that brave leap and go, okay, let's build something else. Um, and yeah, people will be inspired by that. I really believe it.
Yeah, absolutely. And obviously part of the model, we would want to provide an education piece, particularly, and like this is for me and you, Sean, like as mums, I'm looking at my kids and thinking, I don't want them growing up in a place that thinks this is okay. Like, I just it's barbaric at its core, and it is shocking, right? So everyone, like, so thousands and thousands of people have signed petitions, thousands and thousands of people understand that this is just inhumane. I think the government are just turning a blind eye, in all honesty. I don't think that they are connected to it. I think it's easier to just be disconnected. So yeah, I mean, I don't know how they sleep at night either. But like, sorry, what I was going to say, back to that tangenting again, but with the kids, it's the next generation that we really need to teach and educate around animals, wild animals, nature, how things integrate. And yes, that's, I think the rewilding concept, and also for the horses, yes, there are, shout out to all the amazing sanctuaries that are out there, because without them, there'd be many, many more horses, going to horrible deaths. And they are doing, an amazing job. Land is not easy to come by. It's, I think that we are just trying to move towards a concept where the horses can be in their wildest state, right? Where the mobs can stay together, the family groups can stay together, and again, this isn't speaking in any way against sanctuaries or rehoming, but ultimately, we want to find another way, right?
Yeah, I think you're spot on there with I want my children to be able to go and learn from the land and see it managed in a way where it's not, oh, there's a carcass, or oh, there's some poison, watch out, or just for them to see things governed the way that it is quite disappointing to them. It's a very tough time for them to grow up in, actually, because it's so constricted. It's not like the 80s or the 90s. And just going back to like why the wild horse story matters, it would just be such a tragedy if the wild horse wasn't wild anymore. If we didn't see them galloping around with the wind in their hair, and for our children to be able to experience that, to be able to feel that magic. When you watch these horses, they have such a, I get goosebumps talking about such a special magic inside of them. And they need to be revered. They need to be managed in a proper manner. If they really don't want them on a park, we should be setting up large scale areas where people can go and enjoy them and they're safe, not being slaughtered. So I'm so passionate about creating a model for our children and for people from around the world to come and experience these horses in as much of a natural state as possible. I think we owe it to them. We owe it to our heritage. We owe it to Australia as like people that are actually forward thinkers and truth, I guess, standing up for the truth, and brave that we're going to do this.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I don't have the same, I guess, background and cultural understanding, I suppose, as someone who's grown up here, which in some ways is probably helpful in sometimes, and in other ways, obviously, it's going to hinder me. But I do think the heritage of the horses is so, so important, and I think that there's many breeds of horses in the UK as well. That have lived on the land for years and years and years, and they are something that people love to see. They go to see them. The New Forest ponies, the Dartmoor ponies, the Fell ponies. They're these beautiful examples of like heritage breeds, basically, and to see them either die out or no longer be wild in any respect. And look, like I've seen I haven't had the opportunity to see the horses in the Snowy Mountains. I hope I get to see them before it is potentially too late to see them, but I've seen the difference when you see them in their wild states. And like even watching, so Bango South posted the images of the poster boy reunion, and just seeing him and the way that he responded to his mare was so beautiful. And like you can just see the stallions change the most, I would say. Like if you see them in that wild setting.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah, it's that wild spirit, and I think that's why it's part of our title too. Is keeping that wild spirit going, and we have a passion for the stallions as well, and I hope that we can have our little boy band happening and give some of those stallions a home, because I know they're the hardest. And yeah, definitely a shout out to all the rehomers doing their amazing work out there. It takes a team. It does, and we're new to the scene, but we believe that we're going to come up with some ways to really help spread the word more, to help educate people, to come up with some safe zones. So the more hands on deck, the better in all the ways that we do it. So how about we move on to our gala and talking a bit about that. So I can't even, was it Sarah that came up with it? I can't even remember who came up with it now. I think it might have been Sarah. Um,
I think it
but
was, yeah.
yeah, so shout out Sarah, and we'll have her on the show as well. So yeah, that's super exciting. We've got quite the lineup coming along. But what do you think would be some of the great benefits of having this um, ball, this black tie event in Sydney?
So ultimately, we know how difficult it is to get started as a not-for-profit or a charitable organisation. There is a lot of sanctuaries in need. There's lots of GoFundMe's. There's a lot going on in this Brumby space, and we just wanted to bring something slightly different, something where people could come and actually celebrate the horses. It's very heavy what is going on, and I think everyone, I mean, I know how I've felt throughout this whole process, and yes, I am a sensitive person, but there's been many, many ups and downs. There have been times when I have just wanted to shut the door on it and not have it be happening, where you just, yeah, but you can't do that. It's happening. You've got to help the horses. And, there's been a lot of moments where, I've felt really, really down, as I know many, many people have. And I think that this is an evening to make a donation, and in the form of obviously buying a ticket. It will showcase artists, photographers. We're going to have an auction at the event, where people can bid on beautiful photographs and artworks. We're just building that at the moment and curating that. And yeah, just celebrate the horses, at the same time as giving back to the horses and putting towards, well, what we think is a very worthy cause. So yeah, celebrate the heritage of the Brumby, and yeah, just try and have some light in the darkness, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. And, I hear that a lot from the people. I think it's important to balance it out because it affects your nervous system, it affects your emotions, it affects your mental health. And a lot of people in the community get really down about it. A lot of people leave as well. And because emotions are so high as well, there's a lot of fighting within the Brumby community. So I think it's really important to be able to bring some sort of positivity to people. And also, what I love about this is we're getting some incredible guests. We already have a couple of guests confirmed that are exciting. So Mrs. USA, flying all the way over from the States. She is an advocate for the Mustang. She has done a lot of this work, so she will be our MC. And with her, it becomes a lot of knowledge and presence and also media attention as well. So we won't just have Australia's eyes on us, we'll have global eyes on us. We also have confirmed the amazing Billy D with her music, which is incredible. And we have Mark Ward and his band Imperial Prey. And he's got a lot of experience playing with some legends in the business, like Guns N' Roses and Midnight Oil and Bon Jovi. And so it's going to have more of an acoustic feel to it, but it's going to be very emotional. So I'm excited for the fact that it's going to be a journey about the wild horses and the stories, the people that have been around them, the music. I know Mark's written a special song just for the night as well. And that we all come together. So we have our media wall as well. We'll have media there. And yeah, who else have we got? We've got Craig Downer is going to be a guest. We have our incredible ecologist. She's flying back over from Mongolia. She's been working with wild horses over there. Who else do we have here? Oh, I'm forgetting people. We have Mark Latham, of course. So I love that Mark Latham has been standing up. And, good on these people because they're in the spotlight and it takes balls, it takes guts to say, I'm going to stand up. And because people can start threatening you from the other side. They can try and threaten your livelihoods. I mean, it all comes out of the works, doesn't it? So I think it's incredible that people are standing up. And we also have Bob Holder, who is the current world's oldest cowboy and is nominated for one of the Australian of the Year awards. So exciting.
Yeah, it would be awesome. It will be, yeah, I'd say 10th of October, Sydney. And where will we share our link for that?
Oh, yes. So the link is on our website, www.wildhorseprotectionaustralia.org/events. But we will be posting, I think, hopefully daily now, on the guests that are joining. So we'll do a little bio of them and introduce them slowly. But we're already selling tickets. So come along and buy your tickets. It's going to be beautiful. People get to dress up and experience some music, and we'll have that auction as well. So I can't wait to see all the artwork and all of those things. But I think we have another 20 minutes or so. So how about we go more into the wild horses again? And the Eurogear cull, I know that that's been stopped now for 2 weeks. What fascinates me, and something that you shared with me today, Laura, which I want to delve into and get into the nitty gritty a bit of, is the land services in the northern parks in New South Wales. The process with the brumbies there is very, very different from Kosciuszko National Park, where you have to apply to be a rehomer. They're rounded up. It seems very different, where you actually go in and adopt a Brumby. Can you explain a bit more what you know about that?
I have only just become aware of that. So yeah, I honestly cannot explain the process. What I will say though on the process in the park is, and I think this is what not everyone, many people have felt throughout this process, is that there's a lack of transparency around the processes regarding the horses. And I feel that that's possibly, I don't know whether that's on the part of parks or what it is, but people are kind of, I guess, unaware sometimes of how they can help. And yeah, from my understanding with the northern, that LLS, the land services, yeah, they seem to have a different program, but in all honesty, Sian, I wasn't looking into that. I have been slightly sick the last couple of days. I'm not sure if people can hear it in my voice, but yeah, I haven't really looked into that properly, but it's definitely something that we want to look into further. And probably actually on that point, just to highlight, these culls, they're going on all over New South Wales. They're going on across the whole of Australia. This is part of the reason that we chose the name Wild Horse Protection Australia. It is not Wild Horse Protection New South Wales. We want to support horses all over Australia. And I think that even though, the Kosciuszko Brumbies are getting a lot of attention at the moment, and the most attention, this is happening all over the place. And really, I think it is so important that we start to work together, that the sanctuaries work together. We have plans in place. I think how it's felt this year to me, and this is purely just coming from a newcomer, and I suppose quite objective, but is that it was almost like this came out of nowhere. No one was prepared for what was going to happen, and that's not in any way talking against the people that have advocated for these horses for years, because honestly, I don't know how those people have kept going through this, because it must just be the most demoralizing and upsetting thing. But it's like the government and the Invasive Species Council, they always seem to have the upper hand. And I feel that if we can come together as a community, not just around the Snowies, but also, the whole of New South Wales, other states too, we can really support these horses in the best way, and have these plans in place. But, again, this is not in any way, what's the word for it, like a criticism. It's more like just an observation.
Mm-hmm. And you know what blew my mind was that with Eurogear, there were no numbers stated at all. So there
Yeah.
was no transparency to the public. They didn't even know that they were going to do the cull. No one was approached about rehoming. So I think because of the lack of community support or awareness around that area, there's been more around K&P. So they've been a bit more transparent with them, so they've had to be. But it really blew my mind that you don't even know how many horses are in that park, and they just go and shoot them, and no numbers allocated on what's left or what was trapped or that I can see. But yeah, the lack of transparency and just the way that parks are managed Australia wide, not only just New South Wales, is appalling. And I think it's really good that the Brumby community is standing up, because it starts putting a spotlight on how these parks are being managed. So I think it's important for our organisation as well to be watching all colours and everybody, and shining the spotlight wherever you can. Also, the dingo world, which is great, they've been shining a spotlight on things as well. And the incredible thing, moving to the dingoes, because I wouldn't mind having on this show some other advocates from other, especially the dingo side of things, because once again, it's our parks being managed, it's 1080 bait being thrown everywhere, it's these poor dingoes being trapped in traps where they are left to die for days. How can this even exist? So I think it's going to be really important to have all these people on and speaking about all the different ways that the parks are being managed, and bringing awareness to that. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about the Mustangs over in the States. And once again, like, why are all these horses getting round up? Why are all the horses getting taken off country, globally? To me, it can only say land grabs. And yeah, it's quite a rabbit hole to go down. But once again, these poor horses are getting rounded up. People think, oh, that's fine, they're being put into a safe zone, the BLM safe zone. But do you know, when you look at those places, there's some BLM safe zones that don't have any public access. You're not allowed to go there, so God knows what happens to the horses there. They have no shade. They're just out in the elements in the hot sun. They're crammed together, and they're in this jail cell for all of their lives until they go into they get sold off online, and they go into the sales yards. And then I've heard some of them getting sold for $25 a pop, and it's just a pipeline to the doggers, which they're shipped. They're not allowed to do it in America, so they're shipped over to the US. But I just wanted to talk about it because it's a global problem, and I think it would be great to have some guests on here, some of our sisters that are fighting this over there.
Yeah, I completely agree. It is honestly abhorrent what is happening over there. Yeah, I don't know if I've looked into it probably through this. I didn't know about it again before I even started with the Brumby situation. I was not aware of what was happening in the US, and I've just been astounded. It is horrific. And look, let's be honest, it's public information. The Kosciuszko Brumbies have also found their demise at slaughterhouses. I personally, I mean, we're already seeing, so Ashley Avis, who was obviously over here from America, her Wild Beauty Foundation is doing some amazing work, trying to ban the export of horses to slaughter, which is obviously, you've got to cut it off at that end, right? I don't understand. It's just disgusting. I can't even go into it. It just makes me so upset. But yeah, it's the same thing here. Not just wild horses, domestic horses are ending up going to slaughterhouse, like knackeries. It's just mind blowing. These horses did not come into this world to end up as meat. And look, the meat topic is not what we're discussing now. So vegan, vegetarian, meat eater, whatever. Those animals are bred for meat. Unfortunately for them, I personally don't love it. But that is what they're bred for, right? Those horses were born in the wild, or they were born to be someone's pony or show jumper or whatever they are, and they're falling through the cracks, ending up at these sales and going to knackeries. It is mind blowing. Like, yeah. And it's definitely, we just want to bring spotlight to all of this, like the mismanagement of horses and I guess the mistreatment, and again, just giving these horses a voice, and making people aware of, like, they really are the atrocities of what is going on. I mean, being sold $25 a pop, and I don't know whether anyone is following these channels on Facebook or Instagram. I would tread carefully if you struggle with that sort of content. But it's harrowing. And
Mm.
to be rounded up and all you've ever known is freedom, to then go into a domestic setting is one thing, but to be sent onto a slaughter truck and taken to us, and I don't even know what happens at those knackeries, right? I have not looked into that yet. I don't know whether I can
I
stomach.
do, and it's awful.
Yeah, it's a
It's
wild animal.
Mexico. Yeah, it not only are they transported, and I know this is a heavy topic, but not only are they transported for such a long distance in the heat, Mexico is unregulated, so they don't have the same regulations as us when they go to the knackery. It's horrendous. I mean, I have seen the footage and it's just soul destroying.
Yeah,
So, I mean, more than ever, we cannot rely on the governments worldwide because their number one pressure and what they need, especially look at the Trump administration,
yeah,
he's lifted protections on, wolves, important endangered species, lifted the protections so they can go in and remove and extract the minerals, it's mineral grabs or the oil or the land or whatever it is, which is happening over here too. And that's why, like, I was so happy to see that, was it Colorado, 200,000 acres or 22,000 acres? I think it's 200,000
yeah,
acres. But this is what we need everywhere because at
yeah,
the end of the day, like, we need to have private lands. We do. And, I was being disagreed with the other day when I said you sort of need to use their own formula against them in a way. Is you can use their grants and their setups and their biodiversity and their blah, blah, blah. And you can use that to set up your own structure, and safeguard it. So we've just got to really sort of think laterally and outside of the box, come together and say, okay, well, yeah, we've got these safe zones because look, I mean, they rounded up 100,000 horses or something. I think it was. Or was it 1,000? Sorry, my numbers are terrible. But where did they all go?
oh, they what, in America, in the US, you mean?
Yeah, yeah, just in
Yeah.
one roundup. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean they all get taken, but yeah, by the BLM. But there's also, I also read that there's unregulated, like mustering of Mustangs, where, and that's been happening for like years. Um, I think I read it the other day. Sorry if I'm not being completely coherent right now, but there's like illegal, not sorry, not illegal. Well, it's I don't know whether it's illegal. But they're meant to be protected. So yes, essentially, I guess it is. But it's unlike unregulated mustering. So these horses just slip through the cracks. So they're just going like straight to slaughterhouses. But yeah, it's highlighting these issues and not being afraid to speak out, because that's another thing. If people are too scared to use their voices, nothing ever changes. And I used the example of fox hunting in the UK earlier, and I did some research on it, and from the 1920s they had been campaigning to stop fox hunting, and I think it was in like, I can't even remember now when it was, but it was in 2000s that it finally got.
Wow, that long.
Yeah, and look, I'm not saying that that's the
Mm.
same for this case, but what I'm saying is don't stop advocating. I had a lot of people say to me at the beginning of this process, don't bother doing this. You'll never
Mm.
win. Nothing will ever
Mm.
happen because we've tried it all
Mhm.
before. And I do believe that, like, even like Carmen, for example, Carmen Jackson and what she's doing, it hasn't been done before. There are loopholes. That's not to say that the government are going to back down, all the horses are going to be safe in the park, because personally, this is just an opinion, I just don't believe that is the
Mm.
case. I do feel like they have vendetta against these horses for whatever reason, a myriad of reasons probably. um, But yeah, I just think it's, we have to keep fighting for them. They deserve that. Like at the very least, they deserve our voices to be heard for them.
That's amazing how you said it took from 1920s from the voices to be heard. So it is a process, isn't it? And I think it's a part of our looking at the higher scope spiritual thing of this. It is our evolution. Sometimes we need to have the dark to be able to realize the light and the solutions to what's going on. So it's sort of like you go through a moment in society in chaos, and that happens all the time with empires and structures and things like that. So the structures will stop working, and they'll have to go through chaos to be able to be rebuilt. Well, number one, for people to be able to look at it and go, this isn't working. And number two, for people to protest and rise through that. And you see that as well, with societies at the moment too, and left and right wing and things like that. We need to sort of see that chaos and be so driven by it that it squeezes us to greatness. And I think that's where it's really important to have that big heart and that big empathy and that passion, and give these animals a voice. They're the voiceless, aren't they? They don't have a voice, and so we need to be the guardians. We need to be their voice. They're compassionate, empathetic, sentient beings that in tribal times we were guardians of. We were, a lot of them called them our relatives. They're our relatives. They're not just pieces of vermin that we need to destroy. So, yeah, I think there is a deeper spiritual aspect at play here as well. Sorry for being woo-woo, but that's part of me. Yeah. So I think we're starting to wrap this up now. So it was amazing to have you on, Laura, and share you with the community, and our vision and the gala that's happening on the 10th of October, 6 p.m. at Le Montague in Sydney. There is parking there, there's accommodation nearby. The Man from Snowy River is on the same day, so if you guys are going to see that, you could also come along to the gala. If you go to the early one, which is 3 p.m, the Man from Snowy River Theatre at 3 p.m, you can head down to our gala and have a great evening afterwards and make a whole Sydney event out of it. And really coming together as community and coming up with solutions. I think that's another really cool thing about this, is we'll be all rubbing shoulders together and saying, hey, let's do this, let's do that, with some high profile people as well. So super cool. So yeah, anything else you want to talk about, Laura, before we...
No, I don't think so. Just obviously, for anyone who doesn't know about us, we'd welcome any questions, or any conversations. Like, we're so open to having good conversations about everything that's going on. Check out our socials. So that's Wild Horse Protection Australia _ that's Instagram, Wild Horse Protection Australia on Facebook, and as Sian said, www.wildhorseprotectionaustralia.org. And on our website that will have all of our information, our team, and of course like the events and everything like that. But yeah, just thank you for giving me the opportunity to chat, and we're going to have loads more amazing guests coming on, so yeah, hopefully you guys will enjoy the Wild Legacy show.
Yeah, so I'll be promoting this more. I'd love to have some of my wolf people in from over in Canada, some of my dingo people in, some of my Mustang people in. And most of these organisations have these incredible powerhouse women that just do not give up, and they've gone through the initiation in all of their communities of the bullying and the you go through all of it, don't you? And only the strong survive, it seems. When I swap stories with them, we've all been through the same thing.
There's definitely some pushback. If you're controversial, you're always going to get some pushback. But I think sometimes you're on the right track when that's starting to happen to you. We're stubborn, so
Oh, are you stubborn? Because I'm really bloody stubborn.
I think we've proven so far. Yeah, anyway, it was kindred spirits over here, but it has been, obviously we have actually, I just want to say, like, just final thing, I don't know how long we've got, but our team have met basically from Facebook on this for this particular this year, this cull. I don't like saying it like that, but yeah, the one in June. And it just shows you the power of that and the power of social media for bringing people together and actually like getting a message across. And that's how our team has actually formed, and it's really, really quite amazing. Just in this short space of time, it feels like it's been so long. What is it now, like August, June? Oh my god, it hasn't even been 3 months. It's felt like a lifetime.
It's literally created a whole new ecosystem in like a couple of months. That's wild. Although I don't feel like I've slept a wink.
No,
but
I don't think my children know who I am anymore. No, I'm joking. But
yeah, I know.
It's just it's been a ride, but it's we really really hope that we can just break through some of the stuff and just support others as well. Like there's some amazing sanctuaries out there, and we really want to bring those people on as guests as well, and highlight what everyone's doing, not only sanctuaries but rehomers as well. We've found some awesome people through this, and we're excited to show everyone who we've met.
Yeah. And even our supporters like Jenny, who's on now, shout out to Jenny for helping us, and Sandra, thank you for following. Like just all the beautiful people that come together, it helps create all of this. And I also feel, going back into the spiritual, that this is a divinely led thing. I feel like there's a higher being going on that is calling out for help for the Brumbies, and really sort of bringing everybody together. So sometimes things are bigger than just us. There's a bit of a cosmic play going on. So I believe in the positive outcome to this, even though it might take a little while. I believe there is a positive outcome in the end.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, well, we'll be off, and I think Mike's on next. So thank you for having us, everyone, and we'll see you next Tuesday at 7 o'clock.
See you then. Well, I won't see you then.
Tell my fool I kept on running. Tell my mirror I heard her cry. Tell the mountain I belonged here. Tell the wind I said goodbye. Brumby hoofprints etched for generations in the snow. I've watched the foals become the mares, the stallions old and slow. Here in the snowy mountains where my life began, across hills, ridges and open plains, my fellow Brumbies ran. I've led them through winter storms, drought and summer rain, but I can't outrun what follows now. Shield my family from this pain. My ancestors crossed the oceans, but I was born upon this land. These mountains are my birthplace, the Snowies are my clan. These mountains hold our memories, our family history. If home is where you're raised, then this is where we should be. Tell my foal I kept on running. Tell my mare I heard her cry. Tell the mountain I belonged here. Tell the wind I said goodbye. Stay close beside me, little one. The thunder isn't rain. The sky itself is hunting us, and I cannot stop the pain. I gather those I love and turn to face the sound. Though every instinct tells me run, there's nowhere left These mountains hold our memories, our family history. If home is where you're raised, then this is where we should be. I fall upon the ground, thunder again and again. My heart grows quiet as bullets rain. I thought I had more seasons, more rivers left to roam, more sunrises with my Kosciuszko clan before the mountains called me home. Tell them I was born here, my grandfathers fought their wars. Remind them that this was our home, the snowy mountains were ours. Tell my fool I knew her fear, tell my mare I heard her call, tell my fool I tried to save them, tell the wind how brumbies fall. Tell my fool I kept on running, tell my mare I heard her cry, tell the mountain I belonged here, tell the wind I said goodbye.
The common housefly, caught in the clutches of the spider's web. Every move it makes just makes matters worse. Then, dinner time.
Feast on the captivating stories, videos, and helpful information on our website.
Whoa.
Dinner's ready.
Oh, man.
Escape is futile.
Just one more video.
Get stuck in our web.
The Pulse. Today.